What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/am I the butthole? And if you'd like to skip that initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like as it really helps out. Maybe leaving a comment or two. Up to you though, no pressure. And just getting involved in today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Glowing Cash, called "Am I the Arsehole for walking out of my husband's birthday dinner when his sister was complaining about her fertility?" My husband's parents threw my husband a birthday dinner at their home last Saturday. During dinner, her sister announced she was pregnant with her 6th child. Everyone congratulated her, and my husband grew quiet. He and I have been trying for a baby for 7 years now, and only just saved money for IVF. Once the commotion about the new member of the family settled, my sister-in-law started her usual commentary on how much it sucks to be so fertile and how she feels like she'll just never be able to stop having kids because the pill and contraceptive injection both failed, and how she's not a good fit for IUD. By the time she pointed out that she's pregnant, so often they don't even need to have sex anymore for her to get knocked up. I couldn't, and I walked out. My husband followed me, and I could see he was holding back some tears too. He apologized for saying nothing. I said he didn't need to, that he was obviously struggling too. By the time we made it home, his parents called to say how sorry they were and how none of that was meant to happen. His sister, on the other hand, called me a killjoy and a drama queen, and she told me it was rude to walk out after all her parents' hard work and for spoiling the celebration of a pregnancy. I hung up on her, and I want to cry because her words stuck in my head. Since then, she and my husband got into a fight because she called me selfish and said I made the dinner about me instead of them. I wish I could feel like she's totally wrong, but I worry she's right. Am I the arsehole? Now let's just start off by saying this wasn't about them at all. It was about your husband's birthday dinner, so it was meant to be about your husband, so, they ruined the occasion anyway by bringing up their pregnancy, by trying to steal that spotlight for themselves. And a part of me feels like she knew exactly what she was doing in this situation, having that many kids, and know that you've been trying for 7 years and you've just saved the money for IVF and all this kind of stuff. And then talking about how it sucks to be so fertile. That sounds like a stab in the back to me. And I could potentially be wrong for presuming that, but at the same time, how wrong is she for being so bloody tactless in a situation like that? You don't bring up stuff like that when you know a couple is struggling with these kind of things. It's just one of those read the room situations. But Scorpio Girl 70 says, "Not the arsehole, wait. You spoiled the celebration for the pregnancy. Funny, I could have sworn it was a celebration for your husband's birthday. Definitely not the arsehole." Koi112 says, "Not the arsehole. It was a birthday dinner for your husband. Not a me, I'm pregnant again. It's all about me. I think she did it to ruin DH's celebration, and they should have said something to her. Not the arsehole, and next time she says something, ignore the hell out of her." Zayla Wolfsong replies to that saying, "When my husband and I announced our pregnancy, we found out later that my sister-in-law was also pregnant with her 2nd child, and apparently had also planned to announce at the same dinner. After we told everyone, she decided to wait another week or 2 until we got together again. I thought that was incredibly classy and thoughtful of her. I probably wouldn't have minded. It was actually pretty cool that the cousins ended up being born within a couple of weeks of each other, but it was really nice to let us have our moment, especially since we only ended up having the one." When that little story started off there, I thought, oh no, it's going to be another one where they announce it and they try to overshadow your pregnancy, but thank God it was a wholesome one in the end. Substantial Fool says, "Not the arsehole. Number 1, tell her husband to get a vasectomy. Number 2, I wish you guys the best with IVF. It's a very long emotional process, and I wish you nothing but all the happiness in the world." Vanna Stalem says, "Not the arsehole. It wasn't a dinner to celebrate her pregnancy. It was your husband's birthday dinner, but she made it about her." But Rosa says, and quotes, "I made the dinner about me instead of them." And it says, "How dare you make your husband's birthday dinner about someone other than your sister-in-law? Am I right? Not the arsehole." Now, what do you guys make of this one? What would you do if you found yourself in that situation? Should the parents have spoken up and told her to quit it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Anonymous3977. "Am I the arsehole for using some of my stepson's camp savings to buy a replacement sneakers for my son? On mobile. My son Chris's 16th birthday was weeks ago. His mum, my ex-wife, couldn't be with him due to work but sent him a pair of Adidas sneakers as his birthday gift. Chris is a runner and he enjoys running every day as a way to relieve stress and anxiety. My stepson Jake, 17, saw the sneakers and said they looked like the ones his favourite artist, Kane Brown, was wearing in Famous Friends music video, so he got hung up on them, always asking Chris to see them and try them on. Chris let him see them but not wear them because Jake has bigger feet and he is worried he might ruin them. Jake wanted to wear the sneakers in front of his friends, but Chris didn't let him leave the house with them. Jake ended up sneaking out with them a couple of times, which made Chris hide them from him since he kept taking them without permission. Jake was no longer able to sneak out wearing the sneakers and begged Chris to let him wear them out one last time in a party his friends had. Chris said no, and Jake somehow was able to locate the sneakers, but instead of going out with them, he cut them with a hand pruner and kept them in his room while Chris and I looked for them till his mum found them. Chris saw the damage and was upset. I grounded Jake and promised Chris to get a replacement, but when his mum called me to tell me those sneakers are worth $600 and had to be replaced, I was in utter shock. I saw the receipt, and even then I couldn't believe it because $600 is way more than I can afford. Chris's mum is a cardiologist. She can afford this stuff, but I obviously can't. I was fuming. I let Jake know how much he messed up and told him I will be replacing the sneakers using the money he saved for his week-long summer camp. Jake had a meltdown and said he was already punished and it wasn't fair to punish him further. My wife thought I exaggerated and talked about how important summer camp is for Jake, as he's been waiting for it for months. I let her know that Chris's mum is rightfully upset. Her gift for him got ruined because Jake acted out of spite and maliciousness. Then it's only fair he'd pay for the replacement. My wife assured me if Jake knew those sneakers were that expensive, he wouldn't have ever touched them, but thought Chris wasn't letting him borrow them on purpose. What is done, and I made my decision final. Both my wife and Jake are giving me the silent treatment and refusing to talk about it. My wife thinks it's crazy to spend $600 on new sneakers. I agree, but those aren't mine, so needed replacement. So, am I the arsehole? ETA, that because Chris's mum sends somewhat expensive items to Chris, Jake would sometimes feel jealous, which is understandable. I make sure to treat both boys equally by getting them equal stuff. My wife thinks that Chris should be sharing with his brother, and he does, but there are things that just cannot be shared. I think that Jake did know the cost of those sneakers. If he knew his favourite artist had them, he probably looked on the internet and found out how much they cost if he wanted a pair himself and was that excited about them, but knew $600 was just not affordable. Not that it matters if he knew the cost anyway, that totally doesn't matter. He was told no multiple times, went to the point of actually stealing them to take them out and wearing them, which he could have ruined them at any point when he was taking them out. Then, as a 17-year-old, he chose to destroy them. So absolutely, he should face consequences for his actions. You wouldn't get away with that as an adult, which he very much nearly is legally. And mum needs to stop enabling this ASAP or it's only going to escalate. We've seen it many a time on this channel where these stories, people face the consequences of their actions, and if they don't, they usually escalate it further. So absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. And let's check out some comments to see what they say. And we're starting with Mushy Frog saying, not the arsehole, seems like Jake is learning a hard lesson that actions have consequences. I'm unsure where your wife is coming from. It doesn't matter how expensive the shoes were. Her son destroyed someone else's property. Maybe this will teach him to not destroy others' belongings before it becomes something super serious. OP replies to that saying, like some here have pointed out, I think that Jake did have an idea how expensive the sneakers were, since he mentioned they looked like the ones his favourite singer were in a music video. Another thing is that Chris's mum upset over what happened, and she has every right to be. $600 is a lot, and even though I personally wouldn't or couldn't spend that much on sneakers, it's her money that she worked for, so I think it's fair to be expecting replacement. Little Foxicorn says, not the arsehole, and I do not believe for a second that Jake did not know the cost. He's a 17-year-old with internet access. You can bet your ass he looked up how much they were to see if he could get a pair. Professor Spitfire says, not the arsehole, you are not punishing him further. Being grounded is his only punishment. Having to pay for the property he destroyed is simply having to take responsibility for his actions. When a thief is caught, him having to return whatever he stole is not punishment, it's simply taking responsibility and making amends. Prison time is the punishment. You might want to consider getting your stepson some therapy. This kind of obsession with somebody else's shoes doesn't sound healthy at all. Rad says not the arsehole, doesn't matter if he didn't know the cost before ruining them. CC says not the arsehole, Jake doesn't seem to understand what the word no means, so better to teach him that lesson now before it's too late. I mean hell, 17 is almost too late. He 100% should have thought about the consequences of his actions, i.e. literally destroying property worth $600. Sounds like he's gotten away with a lot of shit in the past. And one more from Jack Og, who says not the arsehole. He was obsessed with those sneakers, so he knew exactly how much they cost. He destroyed them and hid them so you wouldn't find out either, and it has backfired on him. If you don't make him pay, he'll continue to behave like a spoiled brat and destroy others' property when he doesn't get his own way. Now, what do you guys make of this one? Do you think Jake should be facing the consequences of his own actions, or do you think there is another path we could be taking? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story is from Violets and Roses. Am I the arsehole for selling my vacation apartment to one daughter, even though my other daughter asked for it first? Hello lovely people of Reddit. For some context, I'm a 78-year-old woman living alone. I own a house that I live in and my children grew up in, and a beachfront apartment. This is where our family vacationed often when the children were growing up. I have two daughters that I call Violet, eldest, and Rose, youngest, in this story. Health issues have led me to be unable to maintain the apartment, so I was looking to sell. I mentioned this briefly to Violet last year during the stage where I was only considering selling, and she said when I was ready, she would buy it. I said that would be lovely, and the conversation ended. When I decided to officially sell 3 months ago, I told both Violet and Rose, and to my surprise, Rose also immediately offered to buy it. She had never mentioned wanting to buy this apartment, but she had been looking at other holiday properties around the area. Neither of them were budging on their offer, so I suggested they co-buy it, which was met with a firm no from both of them. For reasons I won't get into, they were never close unfortunately. After deliberating for some time, I made the decision to offer it to Rose despite the fact Violet asked for it first, for several reasons. 1. Rose is only a 2-hour drive away from the apartment and would certainly get more use out of it. Rose was already visiting it at least once every 2 to 3 months, while Violet only visits it about once every 1 to 2 years. Violet lives across the country, about a 4-hour plane ride away. With COVID lockdowns and travel restrictions, it will likely make it difficult for Violet to come for some time. 2. Rose is married with 3 children that love the beach, while Violet is unmarried with a partner, but no kids, and is out of childbearing age if that matters. 3. My eldest granddaughter, Rose's child, was already strongly considering living in it before I announced selling because she plans on attending college/university about 20 minutes away. I believe selling to Rose means the apartment will get far more use and more enjoyment out of it than if I sold to Violet, and Violet will likely be able to still visit for vacations if Rose permits and isn't using it during that week. However, Violet is extremely upset with me over this and refuses to talk to both Rose and I. She believes I'm disadvantaging her because she chose to focus on her career rather than having a family, and that it is highly unfair because she asked for it first. At the end of the day, it is my apartment, and I believe I have the right to choose who to sell it to. Violet has offered to pay more for the apartment in an attempt to sway me. I'm a nearly 80-year-old woman racked with health issues. To put it bluntly, I don't have many years left in me, and I don't care about the money. So, am I the arsehole for choosing to sell to Rose, even though my other daughter asked for it first? I feel conflicted, so I would like some outside opinions. Thanks. Edit, I really appreciate all these comments, sharing their opinions and offering me some much needed perspective. I would like to make something clear though. I do not favour Rose for having children under any circumstances. I was nearly like Violet. I didn't get married until I was 37 by choice and didn't have children until I was 38 and 41 because I focused on my career. I thought I would never want to get married or have children. And we're going to start with the provincial lady who says, "You're the arsehole. Violet asked you first and your response that it would be lovely sounded like you were supportive of her buying it. Your reasons for selling it to Rose are arbitrary and are essentially assumptions on your part. I don't blame Violet for being upset at you. How you handled the situation appears to be favoritism." Speedy Panda says, "You're the arsehole. All of the reasons you've stated are just horrible," and quotes, "She believes I'm disadvantaging her because she focused on her career rather than having a family. That is highly unfair because she asked for it first," and then says she is absolutely correct. To which Erwin Flynn replies to that comment saying, "Was that point shitty? Yes, but when you look at all the points she made, Rose is the much better choice. It is better to sell to someone who uses it frequently and is close by in order to deal with its upkeep and cases of emergency, not someone who will only visit once every few years and lives on the other side of the country." I agree that the kid shouldn't have come into the conversation, but I think the other points stand. Also, another person pointed out that dibs doesn't really work here because Rose didn't even know selling was on the table until recently. It's not like they were told at the same time originally, so Violet's dibs wasn't really fair. Mel says everyone is only focusing on the "she doesn't have to have a family," forgetting the other points. Rose is getting much more use out of the apartment. The fact that she has kids who are also going to use the apartment also helps in that favour. She lives closer and visits more often and keeps the place up more often. The most logical choice is Rose. It's fine that Violet picked to have her career and such, and that's wonderful, but that's not the only issue. It would be illogical. It's not playing favourites, it's literally illogical. Everyone else here is focused on the wrong things, not the arsehole. Funny, I thought you'd be the arsehole. Oh, what says you're the arsehole? If both wanted it and neither wanted to co-own it, I would have sold to a stranger, not family. Real easy and no family squabbles. Now you caused a rift between the two. Even if there was already troubles, you just made it worse. V. Roth replies to that comment saying, "With the way this was handled, I suspect OP is also the reason her girls aren't close." To which OP replies to that saying, "Please don't make such assumptions. They were in a fatal car crash that killed their father when they were only 13 and 15, and they both responded to it in the same way, ruthlessly taking their emotions out on each other. What killed their already dwindling relationship though is they later experienced a life or death situation together, in that one sister did something in the desperation for survival that was unforgivable to the other. Their relationship has never healed from these events." And we have one more from Jingle Fingles who says, "Not the arsehole, I disagree completely with the rest of the comments. Your reasons are not arbitrary. They are practical and logical. To me, it seems like you never promised Violet the apartment. You mentioned you wanted to sell, and when she said she'd be happy to buy it, you said it would be lovely. Not that you promised to sell it to her. I would say the same thing, because it would be lovely to know your apartment is being taken well care of by someone who has a special connection to it. And that would save you a lot of effort messing around with real estate agents and cleaning it out for inspections at your age." Now, what do you guys make of this story? Some conflicting comments there, some arguments going on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. "Am I the arsehole for fainting at my mum's house after my husband attempted to announce my pregnancy? Background: I, 32 female, very recently lost my 8-year-old nephew to cancer, leukemia, that he suffered from for months. His parents, my brother and his wife, are absolutely devastated. He's their only son and the family's only grandchild. I married my husband, male 29, 3 years ago, and we've always wanted and planned to have kids, but we've endured financial and medical hardship, one of them being that my husband had a serious injury that cost him an eye. His other eye can't function properly without assistance. He loves my family and my family love him, but he can act out sometimes for no reason. This happened 2 weeks ago. After my nephew's funeral, my mum invited everyone to dinner to honour him. Knowing the occasion, I predicted there'd be potential sad moments and lots of silence. I took pregnancy test days prior and told my husband I was pregnant. He got so excited and was already on the online to tell everyone. Even said he was going on Facebook to announce it, but I asked him to quiet down and not mention it during the family dinner, and he said he could do that. We arrived to Mum's house and my brother and his wife were there. They brought pictures of my nephew for us to look at. Some of the family were already in tears till dinner was ready. My brother and his wife were telling stories about my nephew that everyone was affected by. My husband kept giving me signals from under the table, saying that we should announce that we're expecting to lighten up the mood. I warned him multiple times as he said he'd do it if I won't. He stood up and was about to open his mouth when I quickly pretended to faint and fell back in my chair. My husband and the others freaked out and stood up. My husband kept shaking me while my mum splashed water over me. I sat up in the chair and acted like I was fine afterwards. I then asked my husband to take me home, and he grabbed my stuff and helped me walk. Mum then asked me to call if I felt better. My husband was really buying it until I made sure we were out, then I let go of him and started walking casually. He stood there asking, "What the actual fuck?" I told him I just faked fainting to stop him from making a mistake and announcing my pregnancy during dinner. He got mad and rushed back to ring Mum's door, but I stopped him in time. I had to get him in the car, and he lost it, calling me ridiculous and complaining about how I played him and ruined this opportunity for him. I called him crazy to think the dinner Mum held for my recently departed nephew was an opportunity. I told him I care about maintaining a decent relationship with my brother and won't let an announcement ruin it. I also said that my family needs my support, not a happy new baby supposed to magically make the pain go away. He argued we can't hide it forever, and I said I shouldn't hide the news like it's something that to be ashamed of. He was and is still extremely upset that I lied to him and did this, and keeps saying I shouldn't have made a scene like that. Am I the arsehole? Edit, I don't know if this is relevant, but after what happened he's been calling my morning sickness fake. He says he's not a fool to fall for the same tricks, and I kind of understand why he would have trouble believing what I say and do from now on. But what you did in that dinner table was to stop him making a complete spectacle of himself and you. There's a time and place to make pregnancy announcements, and I'm sure he's excited, that you are pregnant. I'm sure you're excited too and would love to tell your family, but at a dinner where you're honoring your 8-year-old nephew who passed away from cancer is not the place to do it, and you did totally the right thing in that situation. I couldn't imagine what the parents of that child would be feeling if you was to come out with that pregnancy announcement. That would be absolutely devastating, I think, and would 100% damage that relationship. I can't really see them stand up and going, yay, new baby, because they absolutely wouldn't. And I may be wrong there, maybe they would, but I can't really see it. But the fact when you got outside as well and started walking casually, he was going to go back and make the announcement as well. That doesn't seem like normal behaviour to me, but Personal Main says, not the arsehole. He got mad and rushed back to ring my mum's door. And then says, is he okay? Who does that? That's what I was thinking. Then quotes, ruin this opportunity for him. His little nephew's funeral was an opportunity. Really? Really? I get people are going to say you could have talked to him. Sounds like you did and he didn't listen and was never going to. You know him and I don't, but I have to say, he sounds like he has issues. OP replies saying, yes, I kid you not, he really did. I'm guessing he was upset after he found out I wasn't really sick and wanted to go back to tell my mum. I'm not sure why he wanted to return inside my mum's house, but I sure did talk to him even before we got there, as I stated in my post, but I don't know why he still attempted to make the announcement. Zombies and Zoo says info, when your husband lost his eye, did he also suffer a TBI? Because his inability to read a room or control his impulses are extremely concerning. Does he often lose his temper or disregard your feelings like that? His behaviour makes him the arsehole, but I'm wondering if it's due to something deeper. Cerise says, not the arsehole, are you sure you want to have a child with this man? 1. He showed zero empathy towards a grieving family. 2. He failed to realise that as the person who is pregnant, you should be comfortable with any announcements made. 3. He made it all about him. Honestly, I worry this will happen again and again during your marriage. Thanks for the awards. And one more from me, Nero, who says, not the arsehole, you make a scene. Worse than what he was about to do. Announcing your pregnancy at the dinner meant to honour a family member wouldn't lighten the mood. All it would do is hurt your family members. What did he honestly expect? You already told him no, and he agreed. Honestly, yes, it's his child too, but you're the one carrying it. He can be excited all he wants, but it should be you who gets the final say on when it comes out. Good for you on letting your family grieve. Now, what do you guys think of this story? I think there's something deeper there. There's got to be for someone to behave that way. I get being excited about having a child and all that sort of thing, but in that kind of scenario, it seems like absolute madness to me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and your verdicts on all of today's stories if you choose to share them. Never any pressure though either. And a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for being involved in today's stories, and it's just absolutely amazing what you do for me. I'm always blown away. So thank you so much for being legends, and I will see you in the next one. Take care guys. Much love.